Welcome to Wealth Coffee Chats, folks, for your daily live updates. Get the most out of today's episode by participating in the chat. Make sure you ask some questions, be part of the conversation, have a bit of fun, grab a coffee or a tea, take some notes, and get ready to start your day, folks. Quick few housekeeping rules, though. No spamming, no advertising or self-promotion in the chat. That's not on. Be kind and respectful to everyone when participating. And most of all, have a good time. Real estate investing can be your biggest asset. It also can be your most expensive asset when it comes to getting it right or getting it wrong, folks. It can be time-consuming, stressful, and that's why here at Positive, we have what's called a 6-star team, a full-service team that provides integrated wealth and property investing solutions and services simply designed to help you progress towards your goal of passive income through your property portfolio, folks. Make sure you check out our other podcasts on the Positive Mentor Network. Not only is there Wealth Coffee Chats, there's the Urban Property Investor. Drops every Wednesday with straight talking investing strategies and lessons with Sam Saggers. Property Investor Tales. This is where our clients, you guys, share real life stories from property investing, hosted by some of our advisors and strategists. And that's done every fortnight, dropping every Monday. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, folks, that debriefs the week that was in the world of finance and property, hosted by yours truly, Jason Witten and Andy Fenton on Fridays. Hey, good morning, folks.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat.
Hope you're well, folks, wherever you are.
There it is, team. Morning. Morning, wherever you're tuning in from today.
Early bird gets the worm, they say. Here at Positive, we offer a 6-star team. It's a team that help you at every stage of your wealth creation journey.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back. Welcome back to Wealth Coffee Chats. Good morning to the chat box. Great to see you along this morning. Give me a shout out in the chat and let me know where you're dialing in from. Folks, my name is Emily Miller and I'm your host today for this episode of Wealth Coffee Chats. And I work in the advisory team here at Positive, and the advisory team has the pleasure of kicking off the week with you every single Monday morning. But of course, on Tuesdays, you'll hear from the tax team. On Wednesdays, you'll get the property management team. Thursdays, we've got financial planning. And then finally, to close out the week on Fridays, you've got lending and finance. So because it's Monday, we are talking about coaching and education. So welcome back, regulars. Great to see you in the chat already. If you've listened to me before, you'll know that I love talking about the psychology behind why we make the decisions that we do. And that's especially true when it comes to property, money, and investing. So, folks, I don't want to alarm you, but it is Monday, the 5th of January. Yes, Monday, the 5th of January. How did that happen? I don't know about you, but suddenly the holidays are over. The calendar has turned a page. And this morning, well, most of us are already back into a routine. And if history is anything to go by, in just a few short weeks, it will be Easter, and hot cross buns are already gracing the aisles of our local shops. Who has already seen them? Yes or no? Because every year we'll joke about it, and every year it feels earlier. And it got me thinking over the holidays, not about New Year's resolutions or anything like that, but more about time itself. You know, it's speeding up. It feels like it's certainly speeding up. It's moving on and it's quietly slipping away from us. Now, a quick side note on the old hot cross bun. They were traditionally an Easter treat. Historically, they appeared closer to March, more aligned with Lent and the actual Easter period. But over time, supermarkets has pushed that window earlier and earlier. And of course, they cite customer demand. And would you believe it, millions of hot cross buns are indeed sold before January even ends. But what we do know is this: retailers will stretch seasonal spending periods, so the consumer spend then is also stretched. Now think about it. We've all got these markers in our lives. We've got back to school. Next it's Australia Day. Then it's Valentine's Day. Then it's Easter. Then it's Anzac Day. Then it's Mother's Day. Then it's tax time. Then it's financial year. Father's Day, Halloween, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas, New Year, one cycles straight into the next. And that's exactly what I noticed over the Christmas period. There's this huge build-up, and then suddenly, gone. And almost overnight, we are on to the next thing. Now, don't worry, I'm not here to talk about hot cross buns. We're here to talk about property, but there is a reason that I am starting here. Over the break, I picked up a copy of Dopamine Nation by Anna Lembke, and funnily enough, I couldn't put it down. Now, the book explores how our brains are living in a constant state of stimulation. We're always anticipating the next thing. And it leads me on to a really important question. Why is it that time feels like it's moving faster? Because Lembke says dopamine-rich activities such as, the hot cross bun, consuming, spending, reacting, planning, buying the next thing actually makes time feel faster. And when we're constantly stimulated, we don't pause. And when we're constantly stimulated, we don't reflect. So we've got days that start blurring into weeks, weeks blur into months, well, they blur into years. And culturally, and particularly in the West, as soon as one thing finishes, the next one already been. So Christmas ends and bam, Easter's starting. 1 year closes and bam, the next year is already full before it's even begun. So those hot cross buns on our shelves in January aren't just a retail joke. They're a symbol of a world that no longer pauses. You'll hear me come back to this idea quite a few times today deliberately, because it underpins almost everything about how we make long-term decisions. Now, one of the concepts, of course, discussed in Dopamine Nation is delay discounting. So in simple terms, delayed discounting explains why we value rewards that arrive now far more than rewards that arrive later. So even if the reward that comes later is bigger, better, or even more meaningful. Most of us, of course, would rather have a hot cross bun now, and God forbid I have already had one, guilty as charged. So we'd rather have them now than wait until March or April. Now imagine that same decision, but instead of a hot cross bun, it's your wealth. It's your financial portfolio, right? Wouldn't you just get it done now? No, that's what history says. Because the further a reward is away in time, the less it feels real today. Now, this idea is well documented across behavioral economics, psychology, and neuroscience. And if you've watched my previous Wealth Coffee chat on prospect theory by Daniel Kahneman, you'll know exactly what I'm referring to. Go check it out if you haven't. But it's these dopamine-rich environments that distort our perception of time. So if you've got high dopamine, time feels really fast, right? But if we're reflecting, we're pausing, time slows down, and therefore it's less interesting. Now, there's another layer to this that I find really, really fascinating. People don't experience time or value objectively. We experience it both relative to reference points. So things like a calendar year, I'm going to do that thing next year, or a seasonal thing, I'm going to paint the fence in spring, or a milestone, maybe I'm going to learn French when I'm 50. And the other thing is we're so addicted to things like before and after moments because we want the transformation, of course, without the waiting. And it made me wonder, what if there was no calendar year? What if there was no January? What if there was no December? What if there was no fresh start? And at the risk of going all Stephen Hawking on you, if time is a continuum and time itself doesn't have a notion of if it's Tuesday or Wednesday, and time doesn't care if it's January or July, why don't we do the things that we put off? Because that yearly reset is something that we invented. And the calendar made sense when life moved slower. But in today's world, we live with faster product cycles. We've got constant promotions. We're always heading on to the next thing. So although the calendar says new year, our environment has hardly paused to actually recognize and reflect on that change. and it can explain why New Year's moments can feel hollow. Now, there's a cost to all of this, folks, because when life becomes one big old conveyor belt, each year looking suspiciously like the last, we lose the space to ask those bigger questions. So questions like, am I actually heading where I want to go? Or what's changed over the past few years? Or what have I been meaning to do but keep putting off? Because most people don't actively decide not to invest in property. They just keep deciding not now. So doing nothing will feel safer than doing something, even when that doing nothing carries an even greater risk, because inaction is still a decision. So for example, guys, who remembers where they were 5 years ago? Yeah. What advice would you be giving to that version of yourself? Because the 5 years version of yourself is watching you today. Now, people will often delay decisions to avoid a potential regret, ironically, creating actual regret later. And we all think that we have more time than we do. And on the flip side of this, folks, just to make it a little bit more grim, when people feel time poor, they actually develop tunnel vision and they will favor short-term decisions and stop planning the future altogether. So in property terms, this is why people will underinvest, or they will delay a long-term purchase, or they'll even start feeling behind even when they're progressing, right? So we mistake all of this novelty in our lives for progress because we move chronologically, not with design. So we are born, we go to school, we get a job, we get married, we buy a house, we retire, and then, of course, we die. And if time itself hasn't sped up, because according to our friend Stephen Hawking, if time did indeed speed up, physicists would have noticed it. But what he famously said was, it's not so much about the clock, it's how we're living in between the ticks. So I'll often hear clients say, I cannot believe where the last 10 years went, or I was thinking about investing back then and I just didn't get to it. So I want to be really clear on this, folks. This isn't about pressure, and it's certainly not about regret. Awareness is, of course, how we move forward. And when you start to recognize those forces at play, whether it be societal, psychological, environmental, you regain control over what you choose to prioritize. And if I can play even a small role in helping you see some of those forces at play more clearly, and I can coach you through these property decisions, then that's meaningful work to me. Now, let's get down to it, folks. If you are new to investing, the next step from here isn't rushing out and buying a property, but you might choose to stop postponing that conversation. You might choose to have a proper conversation about time and about goals and about what comes next. But if you're a regular, of course, now is, of course, the time to check in with your coach and ensure that you're still where you want to be and you're still on the path to where you want to get to. So, folks, that's Monday. Thank you, of course, for joining me on Wealth Coffee Chats this morning. As always, take what resonates with you and, of course, leave what doesn't. And if you're walking away even a little bit more aware of time than when you first tuned in, then, of course, this is time well spent. So enjoy the rest of your day, folks, and I will see you very, very soon. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.
Thanks for watching another episode of Wealth Coffee Chat, folks. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a thing when we go live. Improve your portfolio and investing game, folks, with Wealth Coffee Chats live every morning at 8:10 each weekday. Make sure you join us. Previous episodes are also available wherever you get your podcasts, folks, as well as our other podcasts from the 6-Star team here at positivementor.com.au.